Right, everyone, we are back for a brand new week, and we're back with Joe, and we've got Asim here as well. The focus, guys, very much now on Wednesday evening against Shakhtar Donetsk. Joe, you went big last week on your debut. You predicted us to beat Real Madrid. It didn't quite happen, but we still love you for the prediction. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, I thought the first half was incredible from Celtic. Should have been 2 up, probably going in at half time. McGregor had a great chance at the post. Abad had a chance as well, and in the second half, at the beginning as well, we had a chance and just got tangled up in his legs. And I thought we done very well against the champions of last season. So a lot of positives. Obviously, once you get these opportunities for these top players, they're going to take them. So I don't think the score really predicted the outcome of the performance, really.
I guess the way the players responded after the game and the way Ange spoke was quite reassuring, I felt anyway. There was no kind of hard luck story there. There was no kind of, oh, we were playing Real Madrid, what are you meant to do? Like a certain manager did the following evening. Ange was very much, we're just going to try and improve, and he looked gutted after the game, Joe.
Yeah, you would be, because the performances were there without a shadow of a doubt. I thought everyone was magnificent. But like I said, once you give these top teams these sort of chances, they will take them and punish you. But I think you could see the atmosphere and the appreciation from the fans after, in the 80 odd minutes, still cheering, even a 3-0 down. And I thought the boys were fantastic. I'll give them the performance against an elite team like that was second to none. And they pressed straight from the off, which I didn't expect from Celtic. Fair play. They're coming out in their slots and pressuring Real Madrid and making them force mistakes, and I don't think they could handle it in the first 45 minutes.
Asim, there's always a danger that we go too overboard given that we did lose 3-0, and I don't think any of us are, but the way we fell off in the second half, was that, for me anyway, it was a little bit of a disappointment. As Joe says, there was always just quality we were up against, but bits there to improve on, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I think the way we started and the way we played that first half, that kind of performance usually leads to us being, well, domestically anyway, 2 and 3 up. And even in Europe, I think, again, if we put in that kind of performance against lesser teams in Real Madrid, you're likely to see a couple of goals from the chances we created. So I think having put so much into the game, and the goal itself was just, obviously that's what Real Madrid can do. We spoke about it in the preview as well. They've just got such individual brilliance at times that can just take the game away from you so quickly. But yeah, it was disappointing in the sense of, I think as soon as it went to 1-0, and then the second comes, and that happens quite a lot with us in Europe. You have that kind of double sucker punch, and then after that, I don't think so much the heads went down, but I just think that the fatigue as well. Like, we'd put so much into the game, and then Real Madrid just know how to keep the ball. You've seen how many passes they had for the third goal, so it just kind of deflates the players. And yeah, we didn't really have that second wind. I thought until maybe the last 5 minutes again, we had a couple of chances, but I think it was just that we put so much into that first half, and as Joe said, like, we were all quite confident going into the game. Not saying that we were all, we all predicted we would give it a right good.
We all predicted Celtic victories here, I think.
But I think there's no shame in that, because the performance, okay, not the result, but the performance bore fruit. That's what we kind of wanted to see, was a brave Celtic performance that took the game to Real Madrid, and by God, we did that for 45 minutes. I thought we were brilliant. So I think there's a lot to take encouragement from, and as you say, Ange's reaction after is exactly what you want to see from a Celtic manager. We're not here just to make up the numbers or to get plaudits for how we played. He sees us as actually, making inroads in this tournament, and that's what you want.
So we go on to Wednesday night, guys. We're travelling around about 1,100 miles east to Warsaw, to Legia Warsaw's ground, where we've already played in pre-season, to face Shakhtar Donetsk. Seems like it's going to be pretty much a full house for the game, with over 25,000 tickets sold in the stadium, which holds just over 31,000. In terms of the weekend, Shakhtar continued their strong start to the season with a 2-1 win over Chornomorets Odessa. On Saturday, Marian Shved scoring again, and Lassina Traore netting a 96th minute winner. Elsewhere, Real Madrid came from behind to beat Mallorca 4-1. Valverde scored a cracker. Vinicius, Rodrigo and Rudiger also scored, while RB Leipzig beat Borussia Dortmund 3-0. Orban, Szoboszlai and Haidara netting there. Do we know much about Shakhtar, guys? Feel free to jump in at this stage.
I think their team now mainly consists of homegrown players. I think
Yeah.
they've lost a lot of their international players. I was kind of in the same camp when Scotland played Ukraine. I thought it was the ideal draw, and was getting the hopes up, and I was really impressed with Ukraine at Hampden, and then in Wales as well. I thought they looked really good. I think their best player just now is Mudryk, who I think was suspended for their weekend game, but he scored. I think it might have been one or two in the victory over Leipzig, and he's their kind of star man who's attracting a lot of interest. I know Arsenal were linked with him. But yeah, I think a lot of their players now are Ukrainian, so they might not have the same flair that they may have had in the past. And I remember our Celtic team under Martin O'Neill going over to Shakhtar back in early 2000s, and then I think likewise under Gordon Strachan as well. And twice we got beat over there in Ukraine and quite comfortably. But they did have a number of kind of Brazilians sprinkled throughout the team, and they were a bit more um, of a flair team. Now I think they're well. I seen the highlights of the game against Leipzig, and I don't know if the scoreline maybe flattered them in terms of it wasn't maybe a true reflection. But again, as Joel was mentioning there, at this level you just have to be clinical, and that's obviously what they did. They might not have had the best of the game, but to score 4 goals away from home in Europe and in Germany is obviously something that we need to take into consideration and be wary of. But I think it's still, for me, it's a 50-50 game. I don't think that scoreline should put fear into us, because I think we are more than capable of scoring goals. And but at the same time, it maybe is a good reminder that, okay, Shakhtar was maybe the team that at the start that we were kind of eyeing up. We can maybe go and pick up quite a few points against, and it's at this level. Every game's going to be tough. So yeah, I think we can go in with confidence, but also this is where I think you mentioned it last night. This is where the tournament really starts for us now. These 4 games in between the Madrid ones is where we need to be picking up points.
Yeah, I'll tell you what they will have as well is fire. With what's going on in the
Yeah,
world as well over there, the togetherness will be huge and want to fight for each other. And like you said, I've seen it when they come down here in Wales. That togetherness goes a long way in football, and I'm sure they'll be doing exactly the same against Celtic. And they'll be hard to beat. They work their socks off. They work together as a team and as a unit. So it's going to be a difficult game.
Sorry, you go, Asim.
I was going to say as well that I'm right in saying this will probably be the first time they're playing behind a largely home support as well now, because I think domestically they're playing behind closed doors. Obviously in Leipzig they played away, so this will be the first time in quite a while they've got a home support. I don't know obviously what that will consist of, whether it might be a lot of locals or people that are fans that have travelled over. So that'll be something to watch out for as well. That they'll have an extra spring in their step that they might not have had for a while. And I think some of the friendlies that we had pre-season, this might come in handy as well. I know they're a step up, but we played Legia Warsaw in that stadium with a kind of vocal home crowd, and also the Rapid Vienna game, similar kind of atmosphere. So I think those were good games and they were quite competitive, and I think that might stand us in good stead in terms of what to expect, in terms of atmosphere and things like that as well. So no, I'm looking forward to it.
You've played in these kind of atmospheres, Joe, away from home in Europe. What would the keys be for Celtic, especially in the early stages?
Yeah, it's very hostile in these places. I've played in Europe and international levels as well. I think the first 10 to 15 minutes are vital. I think you just got to shut a chop, make sure you don't concede early on in the games, because once they've got that momentum, you're in for the tough night, that's for sure. So it's important that you set up right, make sure everyone's working together. Your sort of team shape is together. You're not letting out too many gaps in between midfield and defence, but it's going to be very hostile, and we know these sort of places are tough to play in, and Celtic need to be on their game straight from the off.
I guess the other thing we know, Asim, is that Celtic tend to thrive in these atmospheres as well. You think back to Ibrox, in April or whenever it was when we lost that early goal, and we came back to get the victory in such a difficult atmosphere. Celtic do tend to rise to that, and also kind of to thrive on it as well, as I say.
Yeah, and our style of football as well, I think, is quite suited to European away games. I know we didn't ultimately get the result in Betis and Leverkusen last year, but there were two of our kind of better performances away from home in Europe. We took the lead, obviously, in both games. Well, came back from one behind in Leverkusen, but if you remember, we were 2 up in Betis very early on. So I think that is something again that we're quite good at, coming strong out the blocks. And And as you mentioned, we've done well in hostile atmospheres before at Ibrox, and I'm sure this will be no different. And I think for us as well, we really do need to pick up something in this game. I'm not saying it would be over and out if we didn't, but I just think getting points on the board away from home in the Champions League is something that we've struggled in the past. I think, Joe, you might have been part of the first ever away Champions League win that we had in Moscow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
With Sammy scored and that just set the tone. I think we drew the first game that year, but the victory away from home just set the tone, and then we ultimately went on to qualify. I think if you can pick up points early on away from home, it really puts you in a strong position. So for me, it's crucial we do that.
Joe?
yeah, it's vital. You don't get many games in these group stages, so it's very important. I know performances. We always want to see great performances and creating chances and stuff like that. But early on, like Asim said, early on in these competitions, you've got to get points on the board, and it's vital. Even a point away from home is massive just to get a point off the board, and you just never know then from momentum and stuff like that. Playing at Celtic Park with the atmosphere does hurt a lot of teams. So I think it's vital at this stage in this competition that you just get points on the board, and it's going to be difficult. We know what it's going to be like.
It's funny, Asim, that you mentioned that Spartak Moscow game, because I don't know if it's just the whole Eastern Europe thing, but that's the game I can't get out of my head when I'm thinking about Wednesday night. That was our first campaign back in the group stage after a good few years, probably a similar kind of absence. And I think from memory, we had a draw against Benfica in the opening game, and it was a little bit of an anticlimax. I think a point was all right, but we wanted to win that. And then we went over to Moscow, Joan, and we won that game. What did you feel at that stage, like that victory did for the group?
Yeah, like you said, I think we built a lot of confidence from the Benfica game at home. Yeah, we did expect to win, but Benfica then had a fantastic team. And like you said, we've been out of the competition for a while, so I think we built a lot of momentum from that. And we knew, Moscow was going to be a difficult place. It's going to be hostile, AstroTurf pitch, which we weren't really used to. But I was on the bench at that time. I came on, and Sammy turned up and was capable to get his goal. And from there, you got 4 points on the board in the first two games, which built on. And I remember going to Barcelona away, and we put in a hell of a performance then, and should have actually come away with a draw, but we didn't. But it's just one of those things. Once you've got that momentum and you get that point and you get those 3 points, you end up just getting better and more confident, and things just become your way, and you can see the reflection on the performances then, and results will come.
Because I remember that campaign, and the thing that always struck was how lethal we were in front of goal. Like, we would get one chance in a game and just take it in set pieces as well, the amount of set pieces that we scored. So hopefully that's the kind of thing Celtic can tap into in this campaign.
I think we look back on the group stage, we didn't dominate possession much. We didn't create that many chances, but we were ruthless in front of goal. Gary Hooper, Sammy in Europe was incredible. And I think that's what you've got to expect in this competition, because you are playing against the best teams in Europe. And once you get these opportunities, you've got to put them away.
Just had images of Samaras and a Postecoglou team there. What were we thinking of that? How would that work?
Oh, he'd be fantastic, wouldn't he? Especially in Europe. I thought he was magnificent. Not just in Europe, but as a guy and as a person and a player, he was a credit to play with. He's had a fantastic Celtic career. He was a god up there, and rightly so. He scored some really vital goals if you look back in his time when I was with him, especially at Celtic, and very important goals as well. Against Rangers, not just in Europe, but against Rangers as well. And that's what he is capable of doing.
Yeah, no Samaras on Wednesday, Asim. But what are the big decisions for Ange to make?
No, it's funny you mention that though, because when you think of that campaign, you do often just remember those Samaras moments. He scored in obviously the Nou Camp as well, and Benfica. So he had some big moments, and that's the opportunity for the players in this squad as well now, is to really announce himself at this stage and get this campaign going. In terms of the big decisions, I think that the main one, I think it looks like obviously Starfelt's still out, so Jens will partner Carter Vickers, I'd imagine. And the main talking point seems to be Abada or Dyson Maeda in terms of the wide position, and then Kyogo or Giakoumakis. But I think if Kyogo's fit, I think Kyogo starts again. It's away from home, potentially more space in behind. to exploit his pace. So if he's fully fit, I'd imagine he would start. So then it's just down to that final one. He gave Abada the nod last week. Wouldn't surprise me if he gives Dyson the nod this week.
You get any preference, Joe, out of Maida Abada?
I do like Abada. I thought he's been brilliant this season. Like you said, against Real Madrid first half, he was outstanding. I think on a different day, he would have put them, opportunities away. I think he's been a real just relief. When he gets down that right hand side, he's quick, he's tricky, he's a defender's nightmare, and I really think he's been fantastic this season, Abada. And you've seen he's capable of scoring, but not just that, he can set up goals as well. And I think he's been a vital part of this team, so far. In its early days, he can go on and hopefully he can get double figures, because I think he gets in those opportunities where he can cut inside and finish, or you can go back post as well and get tap-ins, which is what you want from a winger. You've got to get in that far stick, and that's what he's doing. For me, I think Abada.
He's such a goal threat, isn't he? And you've seen even in Europe last year, he contributed with quite a few goals, and in these kind of games where chances are limited, I know he missed a couple of our better ones against Real Madrid, but you do feel away from home in Europe, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, chances will be, again, not as frequent as domestically, and he is the one normally that just comes up at that back post and nicks one in. So it's, again, they're both such good options, and I think whichever way Ange goes, people won't be too displeased. I think both have earned it over their performances. But yeah, actually, now that I think about it, for me, Abada, just that goal threat is something that might be taken into consideration again.
It also allows Jota on the left as well, which I think
Yeah.
we all kind of feel is he's slightly
His
better
strongest
at.
side.
But Maida's obviously a good option as well. In terms of Kyogo Giakoumakis, Joe, would you go for the pace in an away game like this?
It's a tough one. Whether you go with a big guy up front who can sort of bring players in, if you want to go that out ball, and if you're going to be under pressure away from home. But Kyogo as well, he's got that pace, he's got that trickery around the defenders, that running off the ball as well. It's a difficult choice for Ange, don't get me wrong. It's a tough one. I'm still undecided of who could start. But again, the best thing about this team is whoever comes in, the fans are always going to be happy, because it's 50-50 for places. There's so much quality in this squad at the moment. Whoever comes in will perform. That's the best thing about this team. But it's opportunities for whoever to come in to perform.
Just excited to see that midfield again. I love watching them. McGregor, Hatate, O'Reilly. I think they're made for this level, and I honestly think they'll cause Shakhtar trouble on Wednesday night. I've already said this, but I'm quietly confident that if we put in the same level of performance as we did last week against Madrid, and we take our chances, I think we get a positive result, and a positive result could even be a point. I think if we come away with a point, that's fine. You move on to Leipzig away, you've got a point on the board. How are you guys feeling generally, Joe, about the game? You don't have to give us a prediction this time, by the way.
I'll give you a prediction this time. I'm going to be right. But a lot of positives, like I said, from the Madrid game. I think this team is like you said. I think the midfield is been fantastic. Those midfield three and the wide boys as well. They really have pushed this team and create a lot of chances and also score goals. So I'm going to go 1-0 Celtic away from home, and I think
clean
we'll hang
sheet,
on
Joe.
to that. I'm going clean sheet. Yeah, I am. That's my prediction, and hopefully this time I'll be at least close. Definitely.
Asim?
Yeah, I think there'll be goals in the game. I like you. I don't think a draw would be a disaster. I think a draw would be a good result. A win would be a brilliant result. I think it would just set us up so nicely, for the rest of the group. But you'd really, really open that up and put yourselves in kind of firm position for going for that second spot. But a draw keeps us in it as well. I think Marian Shved's going to score. I think you can get your money on that just now. It's typical. But I think we'll score a couple as well. I think we'll go for a 2-1 win away from home. And yeah, I think we've got a good chance. I think now, though, obviously last week we spoke about we just wanted to see a really good kind of effort and performance. I think now we want to see tangible results as well, and we want to see how far this team's come. So I'm confident if we put in that same level of performance and application as last week, that the result will come with that.
I think it's a real test to see how much we've come on from last season, because we had really good performances, as you've already said, away to Betis, away to Leverkusen, but we didn't see those games out, and it was a matter of time at the end. I'd be really interested to see if we do get a lead on Wednesday, to see if we can hold that game and take the 3 points, and hopefully that's the case. You're going. I'm 3-2, by the way, I should say.
Right.
Just get that out there. 3-2, repeat of Moscow.
Goals, yeah.
Well, a late goal as well. Fancying a late goal, everyone. The new Samaras, I don't know who that would even be. Maybe Yakimakis, I suppose, given he's Greek, with a last-minute winner. Asim, you're going. You're going to the match. What's the itinerary? What random city will you be venturing to on your way to Warsaw?
I got quite lucky. I think when the draw got made, everyone was scrambling to try and get those Madrid flights sorted. So I quickly just went and booked this one first and managed to get direct flights from Glasgow to Warsaw. So it's actually worked out quite well. It's quite a good itinerary. So I'm travelling tonight, late tonight. So we're there tomorrow. So we'll just kind of soak it in, catch the Champions League games tomorrow night, watch that out somewhere. Obviously, game day takes care of itself, and then we're back. I think early hours of Friday. So yeah, ended up making a wee trip of it, which is fine, I think, as well. It's not a bad time to get away when there's not much football on otherwise, and it's just good to get back talking about the football and looking forward to it. Obviously, this weekend, I don't know how much that'll impact us in terms of not having that game. Whether it's a good thing or not will remain to be seen. But I think it does just give us obviously extra time to focus on this one, and then hopefully we'll have a good result. And yeah, I think the fans will be in good spirits. I'm not sure the numbers that we're taking over, but it's always a healthy amount. So no, I'm looking forward to it. I know quite a few of the boys that are going as well, so I'm sure it'll be good to first away trip since Copenhagen, and the one before that was Rome. So the last two have not been bad outcomes in terms of the on the night. So let's hope for another one.
You're a bit cheaper than Copenhagen, I would suggest, in Warsaw.
Definitely.
So you should hopefully enjoy yourself. If you bump into Asim, say hello to him. I hope you enjoy yourself, mate. Hopefully we get a positive result, and we'll catch up with you afterwards. Joe, we'll catch up with you in a few weeks. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to give the channel a sub if you wouldn't mind. We will be back tomorrow continuing the build up to the big game.